We're drafting the 2023 and 2024 rookie classes, combining them into a effectively a top 24 mock. Guys, I am so happy to be back. COVID kind of wrote me a little bit, but ultimately we did not write back. We're like our Geno Smith era right now. But in all seriousness, guys, thank you for all the continued support. I've got a lofty goal for us as we grow this special community. 1K by draft day. So that's like April 27th, 28th, give or take. I know in my heart of hearts we can reach it, we can get there, and I know I owe it to you all. I'm going to be more holding myself accountable. 3 videos, long form, minimum per week, and then we've got our daily shorts going. Player pick series. We're approaching the end of round 1 in that, and then really I look forward to, with the short form especially, with some of the top comments, I'll just continue the next videos with the exact type of scenarios that you might post in that comment section of a player or pick. But with that being said, guys, I love and appreciate all of you, whether you're the 94% that isn't subscribed or the 6%, of course, that is subscribed. You guys all are real ones for watching me now and supporting me as we continue to grow. But enough of my yapping. Let's get into this. Pick 1. We're going with CJ Stroud. I don't think that's a hot take at all. With CJ Stroud, look, one of the best rookie seasons of all time. I don't think you need to overcomplicate this. And just to be clear, we're talking a superflex format. Of course, 12-team league, superflex, PPR, kind of pick your poison with all the ancillary settings. But CJ Stroud is easily the 101 in this combined 2023-2024 mock draft, if you will. And shortly after, though, we've got Caleb Williams. Caleb is, of course, being held in his own right above really the rest of this quarterback class, which is interesting because we seemingly had a little bit of a Drake May, Caleb debate. And look, I'll be honest, I don't have complete tier separations necessarily at the quarterback position, maybe as much as some others make it out to be, quite frankly. But with Caleb, I have to recognize him here, obviously, as effectively the 101 of a 2024 rookie class. And I know some people love Marvin Harrison. We'll get to him shortly, soon enough. But with Caleb, going to be the 1 overall to the Bears, that's where I'm at, 95%. I think that's not a hot take. That's just what's bound to happen at this rate. And he's got some mobility to him. He's drawing the Mahomes comps because of, well, frankly, look, he's got the strategic kind of backyard football type of play style. But I think ultimately the rushing upside is there. He's going to have to obviously speed up his clock a little bit. You know, you can't get away with 5 seconds running 15 yards behind to go 5 yards forward, 3 yards sideways. That's always just not going to be there. Better athletes at the next level, right? But it's easily Caleb here at second, the 101 effectively. 3, well, we're continuing the QB train, and I've got here the 102 effectively of the 2024 class with Drake May. I'm a huge Drake May guy, and I just kind of hinted at maybe not so much of a separation in terms of tiers at the top, in terms of the quarterback class. And I'm wholeheartedly of that opinion. Drake May, he's got the physical tools. People want to then say because of the play this year, which I know I can't just throw it out the window. I can't totally overlook, obviously, what you put on the field. But because of this season compared to last 2022 for Drake May, what the hell is going on? Pardon my French there. As I kind of look like Shelby here, Arthur, if you know, you know. But you can't excuse this year for just his 2022 season. Look, I'm not going to be a Drake May apologist. Maybe I am coming across as one, but ultimately, we're talking a guy that's going to get top 3 draft capital. He is drawing comparisons to the Justin Herberts, Josh Allens of the world, and I think for adequate reason. People love to say, oh, the Mitch Trubisky, the North Carolina quarterback stigma. Oh, well, he sucked. Look at the stats this year. And we can box score watch all you want, right? But last time I checked, 2023 stats don't carry over to 2024. And when we think of just the quarterback position, the narrative obviously around it, the perception, how that's always boosted up, and obviously the fundamental super flex format, you have to go with QB again here. And with Drake May, I love that option. And I love, look, if he potentially slips like a CJ Stroud did in rookie drafts as a number 2 overall pick, I mean, look, I'll love that. I'll love that. And we'll just see how the draft process plays out, frankly. But at 3 or 4, excuse me, I have to go with Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson is unbelievable, obviously, as a physical specimen. And sure, he went down with an injury, which worries me decently. But ultimately, I think he's going to come back stronger. We're going to hear about all the reports, how he's rehabbing well, how he looks better than ever, right? We're going to hear all that jazz. And ultimately, I think of, obviously, the Cam Newton-esque physical build. He made NFL caliber throws that people would have, again, in the same realm of, oh my God, Florida 8-game starter quarterback. Oh my God, he's throwing way off target. He put some absolute threaded needles, if that makes sense, in terms of his NFL action, that the limited action that he did play, right? And ultimately, I believe in Shane Steichen and Anthony Richardson as a combo, and just to really maximize his skill set. And look, the last thing I'm going to do is play some kind of Monday morning doctor and just say, oh my God, the injury, he's done. People, we're in the off season, and you have to anticipate the rebound. And that's what I'm doing here. And frankly, rounding out the top 5 of this, not quite Anthony Richardson, but still a dual threat monster, Jaden Daniels. With 103, effectively, of the 2024 class. So picking him here at 5, basically the QB 5, relatively speaking, combined in these cross classes. And with Jaden Daniels, we're talking again a guy that looks, pencil him in for top 3 draft capital for Jaden Daniels. And he is going to go high for good reason. It's not like he's a scrub. I don't understand people want to say, look at, well, with Jaden Daniels, previous years, or Jaden Daniels, weak Heisman. I don't want to take anything away from players. That's not what I'm going to do here. And fundamentally, we're playing Dynasty. And I'm going to always be a glass half full guy and project. That's just my DNA. That's just who I'm going to be. And I'm going to bet on upside. That's the name of the game, in my view. If you disagree, scream at me in the comments and we'll have a good conversation. But in all seriousness, Jaden Daniels here, 5th overall in this 2023-2024 combined rookie mock. And look, we'll see where exactly he goes. There's some discourse maybe at 3, and maybe he jumps Drake May to some teams. It's all going to be fluid. We're going to hear all the rumors, right, leading up to the NFL draft here. But I am so intrigued by Jaden Daniels and just the big playability, and obviously as NFL teams are. But moving on now, we're putting a hold on quarterback. So everybody yelling at me for no Marv, here he is. 6th overall, effectively, in this cross mock, the 104, right? And with Marv, again, a theme of how I kind of got at with Caleb Williams, I don't necessarily see him as in his own unique tier, head and shoulders above others at his position in this 2024 draft class. I just don't. We'll get into those guys in short order here. But with Marv, I just have to obviously honor the sheer talent he is. Again, I'm not trying to be in the business of taking something away from others. It's just how highly I view of other players, right? Not stealing any shine from Marv. With Marv, though, obviously a physical specimen who is going to go top 5, top 4, really, in the NFL draft. And look, we're playing Dynasty, and as much as maybe we like to or not like to admit, I love to admit it, with how I'm going on this tangent here, artificial value, right? Fake value, perception, right? Ultimately perception, a pillar that gets discussed on this channel. Perception is so high with Marv, and it will continue to be, and just follow him throughout his career, throughout the first several years of his career, even if he isn't going out there and putting up Tyreek Hill stats, right? Because of that, I have to recognize that value, that is Dynasty value. It's not quite tangible, but it is when you try to go around looking for trades, right? And just trying to get a sense of how highly he's thought of, right? And perception is reality at the end of the day. So Marv there, first receiver off the board. Second receiver off the board, I got to go with my guy Puka. What he did. Look, if Marv goes out and does what Puka just did, Marv is basically almost a Hall of Fame guaranteed at that point. I mean, Puka Nacua breaking pretty much all the rookie records for receiving. He's there in Los Angeles gotta get my prepositions in order here, but in LA with Sean McVay, with Matthew Stafford, of course, Kyron Williams now. They've got it churning. Of course, I haven't even mentioned Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is there, and everyone thinks it's going to be just his world, and Puka's got to live in it, right? Nope, not the case. Puka, I love me some Puka here. I don't think it's a very hot take at all, having him effectively in the top 7 picks here as the wide receiver 2. But in this still same tier of receivers and just talents, I got Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors. I love me some Malik Neighbors, guys. I think that's maybe been a little bit semi-evident on this channel already, but with Malik Neighbors, dude, I love his explosiveness. Just again, big playability, the versatility across the line of scrimmage, getting him involved, all types of ways. What is fantasy? You are on the field, you get targeted, you want a player who's on the football field to have the ball in his hands. And Malik Neighbors, when that intersects, he is unbelievable. And so I have to recognize him here. He's effectively now, we're talking the 105, right, of the 2024 rookie class, the wide receiver 3 in this kind of cross-combined rankings. And for good reason, guys. Again, he's basically in the same tier. Not basically, he is in the same tier with Marvis, to me. And you're hearing reports, NFL teams, apparently, from Senior Bowl intel, NFL teams have Malik Neighbors. Some have Malik Neighbors as the receiver 1. No Marvin Harrison above. Some people have Malik Neighbors as the receiver 1 in this draft class. He's probably going to go, for my money, I would say top 6. I don't see how the Giants could pass on him, to be honest, as an Eagles fan. But stranger things have happened, right? Stranger things have happened. With that being said, though, who's following Malik here? Well, now we've got a little bit of a run. A little bit of a run now on some running backs. And Bijan being my guy, RB1 overall in my rankings. Bijan here, and then Jahmyr Gibbs right after him. They are absolutely in the same tier, and of course, great options to have here. Looking at just this top 10 across these classes, it's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. You see the 2024 class, you see the value there in the high-end talent showing a bit here with just the ratio, right, of 5 to 2, 3, right, in these first several picks. But with Bijan and with Jahmyr here following Malik Neighbors, they are special running back talents. I love, obviously, the situations and just the career longevity potential with these guys. And at a position where, look, you're not going to get king's ransoms for the running back position. But these two guys, if you have them, I'm not looking to just offload them anytime soon. That's really not what I'm looking to do. And look, if you can buy them on the cheap, cool. But ultimately, when I think of, obviously, 12-team superflex leagues, quarterbacks, receivers, that's the positional hierarchy. And unless you have significant point per carry formats, which I know are out there, then I can understand how you kind of vault these running backs up and up and up. But it goes Bijan Gibbs here for me, rounding out the top 10 of this cross draft. And then shortly following them in the same quote-unquote tier, for me, we're going 106, Rome Odunze, who, again, he's in the tier of Marv and Malik Neighbors. This is really a cute kind of calculus I'm doing here with these rankings. Look, I have to pick somebody, and we're drafting ultimately, right? This is the order I would draft them. And that's kind of splitting the hairs for me with wide receiver 2, Malik Neighbors, and then wide receiver 3 with Rome here. But still such a special talent. And again, a guy that's going to go top 10 of the NFL draft. That's a lock at this point. That is an absolute lock. Who is going after Rome in this draft? Well, we talk about positional valuation. You know, it gets pushed all the way down in some formats, but I don't think it should be. But it does, like it or not. Tight end. Laporta here for me. And then I've got Brock Bowers. These guys are effectively a little bit, maybe a foreshadow of my tight end rankings coming soon. Effectively in my tier, all the way at the top. Laporta for good reason. Unbelievable rookie season. And then with Brock Bowers, Chargers are the most likely relative destination right now. You look at the betting odds. And look, I don't have a lot of success betting. I'll put that up front. In terms of sports betting, making player bets in fantasy, Dynasty context related, I do. That's a different story. We'll get into that maybe in another video, with especially at the quarterback position. CJ Stroud, wink, wink. But tight ends are often pushed down, but I don't think you should push these guys down any further in this 2024-2023 rookie class combined draft here. With Laporta and Bowers, they are special talents. They are difference makers at the position. You saw Laporta's 10 touchdown season as a rookie, absolute focal point of that offense. And Bowers, look, I think he's going to be a top 10 pick as well. There's a chance with tackles, defensive ends, maybe a corner. There's a chance for Bowers to fall out of the top 10. But then if he does, I think you're looking at maybe the Colts with Steichen, maybe the Bengals jumping up to somebody to try to snag him, which only makes it a more attractive landing spot. But with Bowers, look, I am very, very high on Brock Bowers. I've got him here, look, running out that kind of silky 7, right, of superflex drafts that we've been talking about. And I think in most leagues, look, I don't think the tight end position, even if it's depending on the premium format, right, if there is a premium, it just doesn't have that name cachet, that value necessarily, that real value. If you're trying to go facilitate a trade, feel the market, right? Because this is all this is ultimately. We're trying to market and now analyze what the pulse is, what the pulse is going to be. And with that, though, I could not go outside of the top 12, right? This first round, so to speak. But effectively at the 1-2 turn, 2 unbelievable tight ends. Who are we talking now, really, as we get into the second round of a draft, so to speak? Well, this is when we move on and segue into running back once again. And we've got Devon Achane here. Devon Achane, look, he is a special player, and maybe this is a hot take having him here behind the tight ends, but I just, ultimately with Mostert there, under contract, I expect Mostert to be there again, and with the injury history with running back, look, a position where you're not going to be on the field a majority of the time necessarily, depending on the offense, depending on the scheme, depending on just who else obviously is in the room. With running back in particular, in a modern NFL, you're only looking at a max of about 70-75% of the snaps, the amount of time any one player is on the field for the offense. And so with Achane, look, I'm still recognizing him as an unbelievable explosive player, but I have to position him behind, the tier of Bijan and Gibbs, and then behind these tight ends, these top 2 tight ends in my book. Still an unbelievable player, effectively right at that 107 kind of border mark for me. But I see him with the Dolphins being a difference maker for the long term. It's just, we'll see for the near term, maybe what that volume is for this 2024 season. But moving on. So we go from tight end, duo of tight end run, then we got a running back again. We're moving on to, again, let me see if you guys guess it position-wise, a little bit of a quarterback run. A little bit of a quarterback run here. And starting it off, I've got J.J. McCarthy. The 108 right now, projecting for me. Look, love him or hate him, you got to acknowledge him. You got to acknowledge him as what is projecting to be a top half of the first round quarterback pick in the NFL. We can't disrespect this guy anymore. That's the school of thought I am fully of. You can't disrespect JJ McCarthy. You have to give him some flowers here, and at least in the form of recognition that he gets the first round draft capital, top 20, I feel like at the absolute latest. And if he goes in that, assuming it's in that kind of 10 to 20 range, it only means, in theory, a little bit maybe better for his landing spot and potential difference maker. But we're looking at a guy that's got athleticism. That's a proven winner. He's only 21. He's going to be 2-3 years younger than some of these other guys at the quarterback position in terms of the quarterback 3 and beyond, right? You have to respect him. Again, I'm not going out there and saying he's going to be a CJ Stroud level of player in his rookie year. That's virtually impossible for anyone to do that. Even tempering our expectations with Caleb Williams. What CJ Stroud did was unbelievable. But with a first round quarterback in the NFL draft in a superflex league, you've got to honor it. That's just the sound process for my money. With JJ McCarthy, there also comes obviously a lot of NFL suitors potentially in that. Even I've heard the Falcons potentially, but they look like Fields and his new destination. But so we're saying, look, beyond the top 10, you're looking at the Broncos, the Raiders, the Vikings, the Saints, potentially the Seahawks, even though they picked up Geno Smith's contract. That's maybe a strategic move to still potentially trade, as Schefter kind of framed it, trade an attractive quarterback contract. Just some food for thought. But we're talking a gauntlet of teams that need quarterback. And so whether you just have to imagine JJ McCarthy gets some marriage between one of those aforementioned teams in that kind of top half of the first round. But we're playing a game of musical chairs, and there's only so many quarterbacks to go around. And I think we're going to see a fifth quarterback in the first round of the NFL draft. That's where I am. That's where my head's at. And so honoring that, projecting that, anticipating that, being proactive, I've got to have Bo Nix here effectively at the 109 in terms of a rookie draft. But here rounding out effectively 13, 14, 15, just outside the top 15 of this top 24, right? I think he plays his way into the first round of the NFL draft. And with that insulation inherently and that bet the team is making, fantasy players need to follow suit. You need to follow suit and recognize Bo Nix for that and his value. So he rounds out the 109 effectively of the 2024 class. Are we going to the 110? We're not. And this is where I think I'm going to get some people maybe relatively impassioned one way or another. I'm anticipating the comments about this. I've got Bryce Young here following Bo Nix, coming in here at 17 in this kind of cross-positional mock draft, if you will. I've got Bryce Young here because I am a huge believer still. What could have gone wrong pretty much did go wrong in that first year. And look, I know people have said, you think about the range of outcomes. There is a world where, sure, it only marginally improves down there in Carolina for Bryce, and things don't drastically change. But I'm much more on the spectrum where Bryce Young comes out there and has a drastic improvement, a complete deviation from what we saw with Frank Reich and company. Dave Canales, under his tutelage, what's a track record? Oh, how about Russell Wilson's 40 touchdown season at the end of his Seattle tenure? What about Geno Smith's, just aforementioned him a couple minutes ago, Geno Smith's career resurgence? And then, this guy Baker Mayfield, who's a Pro Bowler in 2023. Who would have guessed? Well, maybe we should be guessing with Bryce. And I don't think it's much as a guess, truly, as it really might seem. Give me Bryce Young here, Dave Canales. the Panthers are gonna address the receiver position in some form. That I'm at a 99%. They're gonna address it in some form, guys. I'll guarantee. But seriously, Bryce Young, I'm not giving up. I'm nowhere close to giving up on him. And this is where we're talking. Look, so he's between effectively the 109, 110 rookie pick. And I made that as clear in a recent player pick episode in terms of the shorts. But let me know, guys, your opinion of Bryce Young. Are you making a bet on him? Do you feel comfortable doing that? Yes or no? Maybe so. But look, moving on from Bryce here, I think this is where we kind of head back into some receiver territory. And I'm actually going to recognize Brian Thomas Jr. here, effectively the 110 of the 2024 class here, coming in inside the top 20 of the cross 23-24 draft. I know it's kind of tongue twisting me here, guys. 23, 24, top 24. But seriously, Brian Thomas Jr., there's no talent to sleep on. You need to anticipate a first round pick spent on Brian Thomas Jr. He's going to go out there and at the combine, assuming all is well in terms of health, in terms of going out there running a 40, putting on a show, right? A guy that's 6'2 plus 200-ish. That's the range. I'll be really interested to see the measurables exactly. But if we go out there and we see in a couple weeks a 4.3 speed from Brian Thomas Jr., don't say I didn't say look out, right? But look, speed isn't everything. And that's nowhere near the end-all, be-all, right? But with Brian Thomas Jr., we're talking a first-round NFL draft receiver, a guy who has potential to really be a receiver one, a focal point of the offense, the focal point in terms of a receiving room. And that's why I positioned him here. There's, of course, some other receivers that we can talk about, especially some other 2023 draft class receivers. And look, they follow in short order here from Brian Thomas at the 110. We're talking Rashee Rice here for me. And then we go into Tank Dell, of course. Guys that are unbelievable value picks if you think about where they went some 10 months ago, give or take, in your rookie drafts. Second, third round picks. These are guys that are easily top 20 receivers in Dynasty, right? And guys that were not anywhere close to first round NFL draft picks, which there's always gems. And that'll be a future video for sure. We'll talk about some maybe that I'm projecting in this class. But in this cross draft, I've got to have some 2023 receivers. And before I move on to the next 2023 receiver, I just want to kind of take this point in time to just recognize Zay Flowers and put a little bit of a frozen asset designation. I'm using that term because with the legal situation, the domestic violence situation that's going on, I am not going to speculate on that. I don't think anyone really should, or it's the best idea, especially if you're talking about Dynasty, if you're talking about fantasy football. I'm not looking to, if I have Zay Flowers, I'm not looking to trade him. And if you don't, I'm not looking to then on the flip side, I'm not looking to acquire Zay Flowers, frankly. So this is where he would effectively rank combined here, sandwiched around outside the top 20, give or take, of this draft. But frozen asset, just this is kind of imaginary spot. But you know whose spot is not imaginary? We're going back to the receiver well of the 2023 class with Jordan Addison here. Now, Jordan Addison, I don't know how big I am. Maybe relatively, I'm not as big on his longer term success, but I think there's a nice floor. Look, I say that being with the Vikings, with Justin Jefferson, for my money, the Vikings have to extend Justin Jefferson, and I don't know if I'm totally confident Kirk is going to re-sign there, and then even if he is, for how much longer that might be. Kirk can support two receivers. He's shown that with Jefferson and Thielen, but I don't know how much longer we're going to see Kirk. If they go and get JJ McCarthy, I don't know, Bo Nix, I don't know how immediate, if anything, we're going to be able to see support of a 1A, 1B type receiver. Jordan Addison, though, he's still ultimately inside that top 20, I would say, of receivers for Dynasty rankings. He comes in here sort of rounding out the 2023 draft class in terms of players here. Although, does he really? Because we're talking Will Levis. Will Levis, I don't know who expected to hear that name, but the more and more I think about it, I got to have Will Levis here. He's the starting quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. He's going to have a starting job, right? That much is just clear to me. Watching Brian Callahan, hearing Brian Callahan in these interviews, and just getting a sense. Will Levis, look, and Will Levis, man, he performed. Look, a better season than Bryce Young had for sure. And he won some games, had some comebacks that really give you some things to look forward to if you're a Titans fan, if you're a Dynasty shareholder, so to speak. But jokes aside, no, I got to have Will Levis recognize him in this video, give him some flowers, some praise in that sense. But enough of the 2023 class. We have reached a little bit of an end there, but we still got 2 more spots left to completely round out official top 24 draft here. And with that, we're going back to the receiver well here. I've got 2 guys that are roughly interchangeable, I would say, with Keon Coleman, with A.D. Mitchell. With Keon Coleman and A.D. Mitchell at effectively the 111, 112, rounding out the top 24 of this combined 2023-2024 draft classes, mock. Keon Coleman, A.D. Mitchell, they are guys that, look, trending as kind of mid-late first-round picks. And that's a range where if you're talking about potentially Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson's weapon, I'd be all over that. Come on. And these are guys that are physical specimens, could very well let up the combine in short order and completely possibly cement, a top 32 draft status. And then even if it isn't, say they leak over to day 2, which is totally possible. I acknowledge that. Day 2, I assume it's going to be early day 2. And then you understand, okay, day 2, well, you got the Panthers. You've got teams that aren't obviously the best, didn't make a Lombardi push, but are still then inherently, by some definition, you figure, not as much talent riddled. So then you're talking about players that can step in and assume large roles. So really, really interesting options. Curious to see how the receiver class exactly shapes out, especially as you move past, I would say, Brian Thomas, who is really highly thought of. You're seeing him top 20 in these draft expert big boards, right? And so then it's just going to be pure excitement and speculation. But that's the name of the game. We're market predicting effectively with this draft, with these rankings. And at the end of the day, these are my opinions. Do you guys think my opinions are yay or nay? That's totally up to you, and that's within your own right. You could think I am the worst ranker ever. In any event, I'm just feeding some perspective and some context of how to view, how to anticipate these players, and really just having fun doing it. And if you guys had any fun or found some level of enjoyment out of this, let's interact in the comments. I love responding to each and every one of you, but with that being said, guys, that's enough of a yap session from me. Have a wonderful weekend. See you soon.